Look, no props. Well, actually, I do have a prop. I'm wearing it. I'm wearing clothes. And that's what we're talking about today. And I was stimulated to do this little vignette by students who are constantly wearing torn jeans, ripped jeans. I'm not in favor of that, but I tell you what the connection is. There was a study where they investigated what happens when skin is protected by clothes or is exposed to the air in terms of contact with environmental pollutants. And the pollutants that they looked at were phthalates. These are present in plastics. They're present in various kinds of colognes and perfumes. They are widely produced for various reasons, and they end up in the environment. They end up in the water, in the food, in the air. We are exposed. So here's what the researchers did. They took some swipes, and they rubbed the exposed areas of people who were told to wear jeans for 1 day, 5 days, or 10 days. And they also wiped the calf underneath the jeans to see whether or not there was a difference in what the exposure was to environmental pollutants. And I guess not surprisingly, they found that skin that was not covered by clothing had a higher concentration of these chemicals called phthalates on the skin. But there was still some on the flesh that was not exposed, that was covered by the jeans. And what was even more interesting, that as time went on, people who wore the jeans for a longer time had more phthalates on their leg, apparently coming from the jeans. The jeans were adsorbing. Absorbing is a term that we use when a sponge picks up water. Adsorbing is when some material sucks something to its surface. So we're talking about adsorption. And it turns out that fabrics can pick up these chemicals from the air, and they will then transfer them to the skin. This is interesting, but what on earth does it mean? It's not unexpected that exposed skin would have somewhat more chemicals than covered skin, but the fact that the covered skin still had buildup of these chemicals, that was an interesting observation. What do we do with the data? Hard to say. Our ability to gather data has outstripped our ability to interpret what the data means. Chemists today can find parts per trillion levels of chemicals. That's the width of a credit card and distance between the Earth and the Moon. So just because we're exposed to something doesn't mean that it's doing any harm. It just means that analytical chemists really know what they're doing. So I would not be too concerned about this business that the longer you wear jeans, the greater the buildup of these phthalates on your skin, because the amounts are extremely low. But what is of concern is that we are producing all kinds of chemicals that end up in the environment. And there's a need to cut down on production. And many companies now, of course, are aware of that. The perfluoroalkyl substances that have been in the news a great deal, companies are cutting down on those. So I'm not too concerned about wearing clothes. I think the benefits of wearing clothes outweigh any risks of the clothing picking up chemicals from the environment and transferring it to the skin. Now, what about those students out there wearing the ripped jeans? Should they be covering up the rips so that air does not bring toxins in contact with the skin? Put patches on there? Is that going to make a significant difference? No. But I think I would opt for not wearing ripped jeans in the first place. I don't think that they make a huge contribution to fashion.